Welcome to Justice. I'm Judge Jeanine Pirro. Thanks so much for being with us tonight. We got a big holiday show lined up with Corey Lewandowski, Pete Hegseth, Dr. Mark Siegel, and Steve Ducey. You may even see a little street justice tonight. But first, let's start off with a man who knows a thing or two about fighting for the American people. Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz joins me now. Good evening, Congressman. This was a Thanksgiving like no other. Here in New York, we were told by our governor, who fancies himself the king, how to celebrate, how many people we could celebrate with, and similar guidance was in New Jersey, even though their governor was caught eating out and enjoying himself with his family. And we saw the same with California Governor Newsom. So what do you make of the hypocrisy on the left? And will this continue if Joe Biden is not only certified, but the Board of Electors say that he is actually the president of the United States?
Cuomo, Newsom, Murphy. Who even trusts these guys anymore? You know, it'd be one thing, Judge, if the government was the oracle of truth on the coronavirus. If Dr. Fauci was our COVID Yoda, maybe we'd have to listen to everything he said. But just look at how many times the government's been wrong. It was Fauci who opposed the travel restrictions that President Trump put into place to give us the time to have a medical response to this virus. They told us that we'd have to wait 18 months to get a vaccine. President Trump delivered not one, but multiple vaccine promising candidates within a year. They said that masks were not helpful, then they were helpful, then they were essential and mandatory. And, you know, even the 14 days to slow the spread has now rolled into months upon months of lockdowns. And you look at Cuomo in New York. I mean, this guy took sick people who had coronavirus and put them into nursing homes. There's blood on Cuomo's hands just because of abject stupidity. So I think that one of the enduring consequences of this virus has been an erosion in public trust from these officials that seem to tell us to do one thing, then they do another. You know, Newsom could go out and get his big dinner, yet he's putting people out of work who actually do work for a living, and I think that's shameful.
And I think the interesting thing about this past holiday is that the American people essentially got up and said, you're not going to tell us what to do. We're going to travel. The flights were filled again. Airports were busy again. And Americans were basically saying, you know, we got this. We get that you can get sick. You know, there's a 99% cure rate. And at the same time, we know we're supposed to wear a mask, wash our hands, and all that other stuff. And by the way, if it worked the first time, why is there such a big increase the second time? It may very well be because, you know, people are testing more, or because maybe like the flu, although certainly there are more consequences, you know, it's just getting around more. And I think that what we're going to see is Americans saying, no, no more. You're not going to tell us what to do. You're not going to go out and then tell me that I can't support my family, that I'm going to go to jail, that I can't visit my mother. It is the hypocrisy that is stunning. But the Joe Biden administration, I mean, I doubt that any of this is going to end with that if he is indeed the president.
Well, you know, Donald Trump in many ways has been the viral president, and I think Joe Biden aspires to be the virus president. You'll remember what Democrat Whip Jim Clyburn said, that they could use the coronavirus to try to execute on their will for a new America, a different America. And so I think that Joe Biden wants to use the coronavirus to reform the healthcare system. He wants to use the coronavirus for a universal basic income. He wants to use the coronavirus as a Trojan horse for every bad socialist idea that the Democrats have been trying to get through over the last several years. I also think that there is no government mandate strong enough to lock down the American spirit. And you're right, Judge, over this last holiday and likely into the next holiday season, we will see Americans making good choices, but making their own choices and not outsourcing that to some public health bureaucrat trying to seize power.
Well, you know, what's interesting, Matt, and I'll share this with you and my viewers. When I came into one of the airports, Cuomo literally has the army in fatigues and their black boots questioning us. And then the next day I get a phone call and they say to me, do you live alone? To which I said, it's none of your business. And then they want to know whether or not I have a compromised immune system, which is none of their business. I said, you guys drafted the HIPAA law. You're asking me if I have a compromised immune system. And then they also want to know if I'm pregnant. I said, you know what? Then I'm going to hang up on you in a minute because you just saw my date of birth. There's no way, I am pregnant. So why are you bothering me other than to get information on me? And I think, the American people have had it just like I've had it and a lot of other people. But in any event, Donald Trump, it appears, is still fighting the fight. They're going into the courts. Where are you on that? Some Republicans have, fled and said, you know what, let's just have Joe Biden be president. Things are calm. What do you say to that?
Donald Trump has an obligation to his party and to the movement that he built to ensure that we count the legal votes and that we exclude the illegal votes. And whether it has an impact on a state or an election or a precinct is less material than the enduring consequence of just accepting fraud. Donald Trump was so good at politics that in the lead up to this last election, they literally changed the rules more than any time in American history this close to a presidential election. And they did it because, you know what, when people have to show up and verify their identity, Donald Trump gets a vast majority of those votes. And so we've got to keep fighting, not just for the 2020 election, but for election integrity as a principle for every election that follows.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. And you're right. They did change the rules midstream using the coronavirus as the excuse. And the Constitution is very clear. Pennsylvania judge and a Georgia Secretary of State can't decide how to change the election law. The Constitution makes it very clear. Article 1, Section 4, that the legislatures of the states do that. So anyway, Congressman Matt Gaetz, good to talk to you, and hopefully we'll talk to you again before the Christmas holiday.
This is Congressman Matt Gaetz. If you liked that video, make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on social media, and join us on our daily podcast, Hot Takes with Matt Gaetz, on your favorite podcast listening platform.